Bhagavad Gita. This is, we've been listening to Prabhupada for some time. This may be a familiar verse. This is one he quotes a lot. It's chapter 2, text 14. I'll recite the Sanskrit. We don't have it on the board, so we won't try to repeat. Matra sparshas kaunteya. Okay, go ahead, you know it. Okay, you know this one. Shitoshna sukha dukkada. Agamapayano nityas. Samstitikshas bhavarata. Matra sparshas kaunteya. Shitoshna sukha dukkada. Agamapayano nityas. Angstitikshas Bharata. Would anyone like to try repeating it by memory? He's got his phone, he's cheating. Chastukanteya. Chitoshna Sukha Dukkada. Agamapayano Nityas. Angstitikshas Bharata. Matra, sensuous, sparsha, perception, two, only, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Shita, winter, Ushna, summer, Sukha, happiness, Dukkada, giving pain. Agama, appearing. apapyana, disappearing, anitya, non-permanent, tan, all of them, titikshava, just try to tolerate, Bharata, O descendant of the Bharata dynasty. Translation: O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sayana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magha, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. Matra sparshas tukamteya shitoshna sukadukada agama payano nityastam statikshas bharata omagana tivadandasya kananjala shlakaya chakshurumilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya no Vishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dharati Sthaparantikam. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I have my respect for the obeisances on the other. When will Srila Rupa Goswami, who has established within this world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter at his lotus feet? So, Arjuna is bewildered, and this is the material world. Everybody is bewildered. Prabhupada speaks here of the dualities of material life: happiness and distress, hot and cold, and there's so many: pleasure, pain, loss, gain, honor, dishonor, success, failure. All these dualities are there because it actually arises out of our dual nature as spirit and matter, that we're spirit souls, that we're eternal, blissful, spiritual entities, but trying to enjoy life through this medium of matter we're covered. Speak more into the mic. There we are. All right. We're spirit souls, but we're covered by this material nature. So this is kind of an incompatible situation. Just like Prabhupada is giving the example of a coconut. So you have a coconut, it's inside there's the sweet pulp and the water, but outside there's all this fuzz and fiber. So you can't really enjoy the coconut. So he was giving this example in the context of a dialectic. Dialectic is a device in Western philosophy of reconciling opposite, opposing ideas, viewpoints. This was developed by Hegel and was later adopted by Marx. But maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Marx at the end, but he developed his communist philosophy. He called it dialectic materialism. So in Prabhupada, he wrote a book on Western philosophy. He did interviews with Shamasundar and Hayagriva, and they would discuss all different Western philosophers, starting with the ancient Greeks, Socrates and Plato, all the way through the modern philosophers. And rather than dialectic materialism, Prabhupada called his book Dialectic Spiritualism, a Vedic view of Western philosophy. So Prabhupada was not unfamiliar with Western philosophy. Actually, it was one of his majors in college back at Scottish Church College in his youth, according to some tellings online. In his first year, he studied English and Sanskrit. His second year, he studied Sanskrit and philosophy. In his third year, he studied philosophy and economics. So at the Scottish college, he surely was well exposed to Western philosophy, and he latched on to this idea of the dialectic as a way of explaining many of the principles of Krishna consciousness. So we're spirit. So, I mean, the dialectic, we can see it. Okay, let me explain something about the dialectic. The dialectic is in the form of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So you have one idea and kind of the opposite of the idea, and they're harmonized in a synthesis. So the dialectic is a way of harmonizing what are apparently opposing ideas. So Prabhupada said this world, this is matter and spirit. So you have your thesis and your antithesis, spirit and matter. And the synthesis is Krishna consciousness. So I came up with a few examples of explaining Krishna conscious principles in terms of this this dynamic, this dialectic. All right, so first example, the thesis is materialism. Say, for example, the atheistic scientists who say there's only matter. Everything we know is just matter, life. There's no soul. There's no God. What we know as life simply arises out of a combination of material energy. There's nothing beyond this. So that's the thesis. So what's the antithesis? For the antithesis, I proposed Mayavadism. Mayavadism says there's only Brahman, and the material world is false. That's like the opposite. Their popular saying is Brahma Satya Jagan Mitya. That only Brahman is real. The material world, material is false. They ascribe all the variegatedness we know, different people, different things, as simply manifestations of Maya. And that's why we call them Mayavadis, because even when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in this world, they take, oh, well, that's a manifestation of the material energy. When we become realized, we'll go beyond all this variegatedness of material life. So what's the synthesis between materialism and Mayavadism? The synthesis is Krishna consciousness. That Krishna is the absolute truth. Matter and spirit, this matter and Brahman, which the Mayavadis adhere to. Matter and spirit are simply two energies of the Supreme Godhead. This world, as we know it, as we're experiencing it as spirit souls within material bodies, this world is a manifestation of the inferior nature of God. Krishna says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kamano buddharevacha ahankara ityame dina prakritirastadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are my inferior separated energies. Apariyamatastvanyam prakritim vidimeparam jiva bhuta mahabaho yayadam dayache jagat. That besides this inferior nature, there's a superior energy of mind, which are all the living entities, which are struggling hard with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So the synthesis of materialism and the impersonal spiritualism is Krishna consciousness. So, taking this dialectic methodology, another one I thought of was, okay, you have Nityavada, which is eternally conditioned souls. The living entity is covered by Maya since time immemorial. And the antithesis of that is the Nityasiddha, eternally liberated soul, who's completely free from all material covering. So these, how do you go from one to the other? Well, these are like two extremes. The synthesis is the sadhana siddha. The sadhana siddha means the one who achieves liberation through the process of bhakti yoga, through sadhana bhakti. Through sadhana bhakti, the nityavada can also become liberated, attain mukti, or liberation. Let's see. So you have a verse for that. There we go. Process of bhakti yoga. Adao shadha tata sadhu sangha tapajana kriya tato naratan nivritti syat tato nishas ruchistata tata saktas tato bhavas tato prema ma vidanshati sadakanam ayam premna madhur bhave bhavet prama. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, describing the process of devotional service. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service, under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes freed from all material attachments, attains steadiness and self-realization, and acquiring a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna. This taste leads further towards attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love for God is called prema, the perfectional stage of life. And also from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavanoi, Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Karya Udoi. Pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing it chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. So, by this process of devotional service, hearing it, we can get deep into different philosophical ideas, but really the process of Krishna consciousness is very simple. Chant Hare Krishna. We're meant for service to the Supreme. So chant Hare Krishna, hear about Krishna, avoid activities that are not conducive for Krishna consciousness. All right, I got another dialectic here. The thesis is boga. Boga, sense enjoyment, attachment to enjoyment through the senses, and attachment to material things for sense enjoyment. And the opposite, the antithesis is tyaga, renunciation. So one may think, well, I shouldn't be trying to enjoy material life, so let me give up everything. Give up all material things, go to the forest, fast, no material. Sometimes people would challenge Prabhupada that, you say you're spiritual people, but you're riding in a nice car, you have a nice building, you have all these nice things. Well, the synthesis of the boga and the tyaga is yukta vairagya. Yukta vairagya means utilizing everything for a spiritual purpose. So, modern conveniences. If you look at the logo of the Gaudiya Math, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's organization, you'll see different Lord Chaitanya and the Mridanga and Radha Krishna, but also in that same image, you get this big mechanical device. It's like mechanical machine. It's the printing press. So the printing press was one of these modern gadgets that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj utilized extensively for the service of Krishna, and Prabhupada, of course, took that up very enthusiastically. So, yukta vairagya means not falsely renouncing things, but using things in the service of Krishna. There's also, from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu again, anasaktasya vishayan yatarhanupyanjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya muchyate prabhanchikateya buddhya hari sambandha vastuni mumukshivi parityago vairagyam bhavaguchite. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relation to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. All right. Dialectic number 4. The thesis is dualism. Actually, I was thinking that Mother Marisha in her class last week kind of used the same methodology. If you remember, if you were here and heard her talk, service to the self, the conditioned self, and service to the super self or the supreme self. And she put it as small s and capital S self. And the synthesis was self-realization. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
So the same methodology: synthesis, antithesis, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So we have dualism. Matter is separate and irreducibly distinct from spirit. Sometimes you get this in the Abrahamic religions, Islam and Christianity, that God is spiritual and this material world is kind of separate from God. They object to deity worship as idolatry because they can't understand how God can be present in this matter. God is up there somewhere and distinct from this matter. So that's the thesis, dualism. The antithesis, monism. all is one. Everything, there's really no distinction. We're all part of the one whole. Any distinction is not real. So what's the synthesis between this dualism and this monism? Is achintya veda veda tattva. That Krishna is, that everything is at the same time, simultaneously, inconceivably, one and different from the Supreme. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, by me in my unmanifest form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So, Krishna is present everywhere, he's in everything, everything is his energy, but at the same time, Krishna exists as the eternal Supreme Personality, beyond this material world. All right. Another dialectic. We have atheism. Thesis, atheism. I don't believe in God. The antithesis would be religion as a kind of faith. I believe in Christian religion, Hindu religion, Muslim religion. And of course, this is a kind of a faith that can change. You may be a Christian one day, a Muslim the next day, and a Hindu the next day. So the synthesis of this, between this atheism and this type of religion is Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is the eternal religion of the soul. So you may believe or not believe. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you're his servant. Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Mahasacha. Abandon all varieties of materially motivated religion. Just surrender to me. So this is the highest principle of religion. It's simply surrender to Krishna. All right, I got one more. Okay. Thesis. The body, or prakriti, field of activities. And the antithesis is the soul, the purusha, the jiva, the knower and enjoyer of the field of activities. And the synthesis is Ishvara, the Paramatma, the super soul, the knower and controller of both the body of all living entities and the soul. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Idam shariram konteya kshetram iti abadiyate etat yoveti tat prahu kshetragya iti tadvidha. Blessed Lord said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and anyone who knows this body is called the knower of the field. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi kshetre shivarta kshetragayor jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So there we have six examples of dialectic spiritualism. When Prabhupada was talking about these philosophers, sometimes he'd be patient, and he'd agree on some points and disagree on some points, but sometimes he'd just get exasperated at their mental speculation. They're all rascals. They're speculating. They're trying. They don't know God, but they're trying to speculate about God. Because our only qualification is that we're learning of God from God. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, God himself is speaking. I'm like this. So you can speculate, I wonder if God's like this, or I wonder if God's like that, or maybe, perhaps. But Krishna says, no, here I am. This is who I am. This is how I am. This is how you can reach me. So this is a much better process than simply our speculation. Beyond the relativity of this material world, there's an absolute truth. I mean, we know the truths of this material world. For example, if I was to say to you, okay, you take Rouse Road about 1 mile south, take a right on Colonial, go for several miles, and you'll arrive at downtown Orlando, Florida. Did anything I just say, not true? No, it's true, but these are relative truths. 1,000 years from now, 1,000 years ago, there was no Rouse Road. There will be no Rouse Road. There's no Colonial Avenue. There was no Orlando. There was no Florida. And 1,000 years from now, they won't exist anymore either. So these are the relative truths of the material world. The absolute truth is on the spiritual platform. It's unchanging. The soul is unchanging, and this is the duality that we've been talking about the whole time. This duality between the matter and the spirit, the soul and the body. We're here in this incompatible situation of we know everyone wants to enjoy. They want happiness, but they're frustrated by trying to enjoy it through matter. So we experience this duality of happiness and distress. If things go our way, yes, we're very happy. If not, we're very sad. If we're honored, oh, this is wonderful. If we're dishonored, oh, that's terrible. Now, we read about the activities of the spiritual world, and there's in the residence of Vrindavan, sometimes there's anxiety from separation from Krishna. But that's not like the anxiety in this material world. That's another type of ecstasy. They're separate from Krishna. And when will I see Krishna again? He's out in the pasturing grounds with his friends. When will he come back so I can see him again? And they're in great anxiety. But that anxiety is not like the anxiety in this world. That's another type of ecstasy. Sometimes I've heard people in this trying to kind of philosophize about material life and says, well, if you didn't experience the bad, you wouldn't appreciate the good. And really, come on, this is just a cope. Nobody wants the bad, but it's forced upon you. So sometimes you get a little good, a little pleasure, a little happiness, and sometimes not. So in today's verse, Krishna says, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Sainabharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. If one is fully self-realized on the spiritual platform, he's not disturbed by these things. If he's honored or dishonored, if he gets success or fame, or failure and infamy, if he gains wealth or loses wealth, Krishna's in control. Krishna's everything that happens to me is for the best. He sees Krishna in everything. Okay. What's that verse? Tatenu kamham shishikshimano bhujane vatmakitang vipakam Devagvipurvir Vidadandamuste Jivetiyo Muktipade Sadayavak. That one who can tolerate, one who goes on patiently tolerating the reactions of his past sinful activities, who with patience and faith worships the Supreme Lord with his body, mind, and words. He's certainly eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So, as we're engaged in the process of sadhana bhakti, devotional service and practice, we may not be on that platform where we see Krishna in everything, but we tolerate. Krishna sometimes gives us just some minimum reaction of our past sins. At least that's how we can see it. I used to joke with each other that, you know, maybe you were meant to stub your toe, or maybe according to your karma, you're supposed to be run over by a truck, but instead you just stub your toe. And I thought that was pretty funny. Then I met a devotee who actually got hit by a truck. And I was joking, well, Dinashari, you know, I don't know what your karma should have been. So we can see like that. Any misfortune, okay, well, it's all for the best, because I've given my life to Krishna. Like Lord Chaitanya says in the Shikshastakam, you can handle me roughly by your embrace, or make me brokenhearted by not being present before me. I'm completely surrendered unto you. Geez, how am I supposed to go for an hour and a half? This is a long class.
30 minutes for questions.
Okay, well, let's start. Does anybody have any questions, or maybe they can think of their own dialectic that to explain some phenomena of Krishna consciousness? Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned Achintaveda.
Yes.
You said it's like one in itself. Can you explain a little more about that?
Yes. Achintya Veda, this is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya to explain, Prabhupada sometimes translates as unity and diversity, that is everything we experience, all the various living entities and various worlds, everything. Is this God or is this not God? Well, it's simultaneously God and not God, because it's His energy. Brasya Shaktir Vividaya Vishriyate, Savavaki Jnana Cha, that everything is going on automatically by the energy of God. So, if you go to a big company, the president of the company, he's in charge of the whole company, but it's not like he's personally there at every stage of the production line in the factory. But everything's going on by his will. So by Krishna's will, a crude example, but by Krishna's will, this whole material world is going on just by his will, by his willing, and by his energy. So Krishna has various energies. They can be analyzed as three. He has his separated material energy, this material world, dead matter. There's the spiritual energy, that's the spiritual world, all the spiritual planets. And then there's the marginal energy. Marginal energy is us, the living entity. All living entities in various forms of life, not only the human form of life, but birds, beasts, plants, animals, all are individual jiva souls. And they're marginal because sometimes they're under the influence of the material energy. That's the conditioned state that we find ourselves in this world. Covered by matter, covered by Maya. And sometimes they're not covered. Sometimes they're liberated in the spiritual world and fully Krishna conscious. So, Lord Chaitanya gives this as Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, that everything is simultaneously, inconceivably one and different from God, because it's His energy. Everything is the energy of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You have the mic, so you continue.
Prabhuji, I've been collecting many questions, just like your dialectics you've been collecting from the book. First one is the one which arose on Gita Jayanti when we were reading.
Wait, what?
Are you able to hear me?
Okay.
Okay, now better?
Yeah.
Okay. On Gita Jayanti, this question came when we were reading Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
That it is composed into verses, and it just occurred to me that not just Bhagavad Gita, many scriptures all across religions. I even looked up the Bible and Quran and Avesta, which is by Zoroastrian, right? Zoroastrian's holy book. I looked up all these, and all these scriptures, holy scriptures, are composed into verses. And when we were reading Bhagavad Gita, I saw that some verses were there, very simple phrases just to set a situation, right? And some verses like 15 to 16, one of the chapter, 15 to 17, I don't remember exactly which chapter, but they are clubbed into or put together as one verse. So I was just wondering, why all these holy scriptures follow the same pattern of organizing the content into verses, into small statements, and it is not just in one religion, across many religions.
Of course, when Krishna and Arjuna were having their conversation, Krishna was saying, verse 1.
Exactly, right? He did not say verse 1, chapter 2.
But this has been organized by the acharyas and by the sages through the ages. I mean, it's a conversation, two people talking. When two people are talking, they're not marking where the paragraph ends and a new paragraph starts. The editor will do that. The editor, okay, this looks like a new paragraph, we'll put a paragraph here. So the same way, those who compiled the Vedic scriptures and organized them into chapters and verses, a little bit of editing there. They're taking the words of Krishna, just organizing it a little bit for ease of understanding.
These scriptures were composed initially by Vyasa Maharaj, they say,
Yes.
and other religions by other great saints.
Mm-hmm.
So I was simply surprised by the fact that all across the religions, all across humanity, we all follow the same format. Right?
If you wanted to quote something from Bhagavad Gita, you say, well, that place where he says, mantras, parshas, it's like, it's about a third of the way through, or maybe a quarter of the way through the text, through the several hundred verses, but you say, no, it's chapter 2, verse 14.
It's easier.
Then you can find it, you can look it up.
And second question is, I believe a lot in Shakti. Shakti means power, inner power. It's not masculine or feminine. It's both have it, both males and females. And Advaita Vedanta, they say that everything is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm that. I'm that whole thing, I'm Paramatma. I was thinking that maybe all these are one and the same, and if there is a reference to any of these.
We're not Advaitas. And this goes to what we were just speaking of. simultaneously one and different. So Krishna says that Brahmanohi Pratishta Aham, this Brahman, this comes from me. That I'm the source of that Brahman. So we, the undifferentiated Brahman, that's the goal of the impersonal Advaitas. We understand this to be the effulgence of the bodily rays of Krishna. And that Krishna is the highest truth, the Supreme Personality. That the Absolute Truth is realized in different phases. First as this impersonal Brahman, the light. Many yogis and spiritualists are trying to seek the light, to merge into the light. A higher understanding than that is that the Absolute Truth is not only this all-pervading light, but it's also localized within everyone's heart as Paramatma. So it's all-pervading, it's also localized. And the third realization of the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Krishna is the source of both Brahman and Paramatma, and eternally existing as the eternal divine person. Brahma Samhita says, Vedanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. This non-dual substance is realized in three phases. Is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the Supreme Personality of God.
There is one more if there is room for me to ask.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Go for
This
it.
is actually for Krishna Prema Prabhuji. I am collecting these questions from then. When Krishna Prema Prabhu talked about time, and you mentioned that time exists only on this planet Earth, which is a material world. And I was thinking that if time exists only here, then what is time like in other planets?
Well, other material planets have a different, they have time, but time is realized differently. It could be said that all living beings exist for about 100 years by the calculation of their time. Now, an ant may experience 100 years. I mean, their lifetime may be only a few weeks, but they're experiencing that as their 100 years. Whereas in the higher planets, in the planets of the demigods, one day in the heavenly planets is 6 months of our time. So they live for a tremendous amount of time. Many millions of years. Now, in the spiritual world, there's not this linear time. That Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and they're going on. I mean, this is kind of inconceivable. We can hear about it, but there's only so much we can understand of how there can be a place where there's activity and there's relationships, but there's not this passage of time as we know it. That Krishna's pastimes are eternally going on, even in this material world where Krishna exhibits his pastimes, as he did 5,000 years ago in Vrindavan. These pastimes are eternal, and a pastime that was going on in our universe, when it wrapped up in this universe, that same pastime was going on in another universe. So Krishna is appearing on schedule in every universe, but these pastimes are going on eternally in various multi-universes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.
So, related to this text about dualities in the material world,
Yes.
we face that, every day at some point in time. Say I have my kids, and if they are not doing the way I'm expecting, maybe then I'll get angry and I'll react to it. So, it happens so often that if or anything happens, either in work or home or anywhere we are out, something we don't like, we maybe get angry or sad, and something good happens, we be happy and excited about it. But like, how to come to that point or situation? What should be our approach to overcome these dualities?
To have a solid basis in Krishna consciousness. To have a solid base, a daily sadhana of connecting through chanting and through study to connect with that absolute. So, we'll still experience, the ups and downs of material life, and that's not going to go away. But, we'll more and more be able to take it in stride. Krishna's testing me today. Not that, boy, my kids are really getting on my nerves. You think, oh, Krishna's testing me today. Like that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much for being here. I think we had a wonderful day today. I appreciate. I was
Close up the microphone. Close up.
Oh, close it.
Yeah, there you go.
A question I have, and please forgive me, it's a very ignorant question, but how do you define what is energy? I know in the material world we tend to think of energy in the term of like movement or force, like you eat food to give your body energy, you use your hand to push something away, it's a form of energy, electricity is a form of energy, but those are material definitions. As far as Krishna is concerned, what is energy? Like we're emanating from him as energy. The material world is a form of energy. So what is energy, and why does Krishna exert energy?
Prakriti, energy. Anything that's not the personality of Godhead is his energy. But he has many energies. The energies that you describe, the energies we know in this world. This is his material energy. There's the gross matter, electricity, sunlight. These are all various material energies. And there are the spiritual energies. Are within this body made of material energy. There's a living spark that's not physical. It's not. It's energy, but it's not something that you can put under a microscope or measure in any way or see. The symptom of that energy is consciousness. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul. So consciousness, who here can deny that consciousness exists? We're all conscious beings, but how can you explain that materially? What is this consciousness? Can you take if they may try to say, well, this just arises out of the spontaneously out of the combination of matter. Well, then take some matter, take some chemicals, and whip up a batch of consciousness. The life force is very different. There's a whole different kind of energy than the gross and subtle matter that we experience. Prabhupada was always challenging the scientists. That you say that you deny that the soul. You say that life comes from matter. He was always challenging. We create some matter. just try something simple. You know, you have an egg, you have some white goo and some yellow goo, and you know what the chemicals are, so just take some white goo and some yellow goo and put it in a shell and hatch a chicken. Without the soul, you know, it's just dead matter. So, for us, Shaktir, Vidhaiva, Krishna has many energies. They're spiritual and material, and they're all going on simultaneously. But beyond the material energy and the spiritual energy, there's the personality of God Himself.
Actually, you had said one interesting thing when we first began with your answer, where you said that energy is something that is not Krishna's, or it's outside of Krishna. Is that what you mean? Like anything that exists outside of Krishna's personal body is a form of his energy? Is that what you're saying?
It's, but then it is Krishna, because it's Krishna's energy. It's like is the sunshine. You may be sitting in your room, and the sunshine. Is that the sun? Well, kind of. Yeah,
Yes and no, right?
it's the heat and light energy of the sun. So everything is either Krishna or Krishna's energy. So Krishna's energy is not separate from him, but it's not him.
Correct. It's like that definition.
Good.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I appreciate your response.
I came up with maybe a dialectic.
Okay.
You can correct me if it's wrong. And then I also have a question. But the one that I thought up is there's the thesis that we are completely in control of our actions. Everything we can control. Then you have the antithesis, which is we're just puppets on a string. We're not really in control of anything we do. But then you've got like the synthesis of that, whereas jivas, we kind of have a minute free will. We can choose to do right, we can choose to do wrong, you know, but we still have to kind of, the reactions of those actions, we have to suffer or get one of those things. So it's kind of like, you know, the one idea, you know, we're completely in control and we're completely not in control, whereas kind of the synthesis of that is we're kind of in the middle. We have some free will, but we still have to suffer the reactions of our
Yeah, that's very
actions.
good. Krishna's in control, and he gives us minute independence. So, you know, there's that kind of the eternal debate between predestination and free will. Well, kind of both. That you have our karma that we're suffering, enjoying now. At the same time, we have the free will to act, to determine our future.
And then my question is, one of the dialectics you mentioned was Volga and Tyaga, which is like, you know, complete sense enjoyment versus complete renunciation, and how we're somewhere in the middle. I forgot the exact term.
Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya, yes. How do we know if we've strayed too much in one way, too renounced, or too much in sense gratification? How do we know when we've gone too much in one direction?
Well, when you're, you have to look at what's your motivation. Am I trying to please Krishna? I mean, Krishna doesn't want us to, you know, starve ourselves and go live in a mountain cave, but he doesn't want us to be like the non-devotee materialists and just working hard for sense gratification. I mean, we're within the body. The body has its requirements. It needs to eat. It needs to sleep. I mean, you can't neglect these things. And you know, as much as necessary. You know, I guess one thing you could ask: is this more than necessary? And for everybody, that might be a little different answer. What's necessary at everyone's different point of development.
Yeah, I think though some people have a certain lifestyle where they're like, I need they say the word, I need the latest technology, I need the best apartment or best house. So
Do you need this for Krishna service, or do you need this for something else? Do you need this to keep body and soul together? I mean, we need to keep body and soul together for Krishna service. And beyond that, well, we take it as it comes.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. So
Hare
I
Krishna.
had two questions.
Yes.
So one is regarding when Mataji brought the point of spirituality versus materialism.
Mhm.
So one thing that I was thinking, like, thesis is Krishna is spiritual, right? And antithesis from the Mayavadi side would be like Krishna is material.
Yes.
And then
Well, they say that the Mayavadi idea is that when Brahman, when spirit appears in this world, he takes on a material body. So they say that Krishna is Krishna, beyond the personality of Krishna as we worship. There is this impersonal Brahman that's taken this material form, perhaps to teach us something or whatever. So when they say the absolute truth, Krishna is somehow under the influence of Maya, that's why we call them Maya bodies. They say the absolute truth is a form of Maya.
So, Prabhu, here's one thing I don't understand. Like, what is so? According to my understanding, when I think of something spiritual, right? Like, I feel like, so let's say we say Krishna is spiritual. So in my understanding, I used to think that something that I cannot touch, see, like my senses cannot perceive, that is basically spiritual.
Now with your material senses.
Yeah, right.
So that was actually the example I gave of the verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that Sarvapati Vinirmuktam Tatpada, maybe I didn't recite this one, did I? Sarvapati Vinirmuktam Tatpadatpena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Richite. That bhakti, or devotional service, means engaging our senses in the service of the Lord of the senses. So right now we have materially contaminated senses because conditioned souls. These senses are actually originally spiritual senses, because in spiritual life, I mean, we have our senses, we have our identity, but this has been covered over by Maya, so we have now material senses. So the process of bhakti yoga means engaging our material senses in the service of the Lord of the senses, Krishna. And in that way our senses become purified.
So, Prabhuji, so Krishna, when he appeared 5,000 years ago,
Yes.
my question is like, so devotee says spiritual, right? So
Yes.
he had a material body, right?
No, he did not.
So what is the
No,
material
he did
body
not.
mean?
That's an important point. He did not have a material body. Krishna is the Lord of the material nature. And when he appears in this world, he does not take a material body. He appears in his original spiritual form.
Oh.
The conditioned souls may not recognize that. Not everyone in Krishna Lila could recognize that this was Krishna, this was the absolute truth. They just saw, here's another prince. Maybe he's a little more powerful than me, but he's a guy like me. No, big mistake. Krishna does not have a material body. He appears within this world in his spiritual form. And that's the key point, that Krishna has spiritual form. In the spiritual world, there's spiritual form and spiritual variegatedness that's not at all tinged by this matter. So Krishna can come within this world, and he can be and still not be touched by matter at all. Though when Krishna came to this world, he played a role. I mean, this is like an actor on the stage. He played a role for his fun. He interacted with his devotees. I mean, he took the role of a little helpless baby so that Mother Yashoda could take care of him. This is his exchange of love with his pure devotee, Yashoda. She's thinking, if I don't feed Krishna, he'll starve. Well, Krishna's not going to starve. It's God. He can do whatever he wants. But still, Krishna really enjoys this loving exchange with his bhakta. So he'll play that role, so that one who's not Krishna conscious may not see that this is the personality of God. That he's transcendental, and that he's completely aloof from this matter, because he seems to be, acting just like somebody in this world. But at the same time, his activities are completely extraordinary. Even though he was a little helpless baby, still he was killing great powerful demons. Even as a little baby, he was the Putana demon.
How old was it?
The Putana demon came to.
2 days?
2 days old. Yeah, 2 to 3 days.
Hmm?
How many days old?
Yeah, 2 or 3 days old.
Yeah.
Three spiritual. These days, not our days.
And so Krishna, and even the people in Vrindavan who were seeing these pastimes, Krishna kept them covered up by his yoga maya, because he really enjoyed this loving exchange as their little boy. So they think, wow, Krishna is doing amazing things. He must be protected by Vishnu. Not think, oh, this is Vishnu. Maybe he's some demigod or something. Come appear for us. But Krishna, just a little boy. He can't be bound up or defeated by anyone. But he allowed himself to be tied up by his mother. He likes that. He likes that taking even a subordinate position as pure devotee, who's in this exchange of pure love.
So Prabhuji, here you explained that. Oh, sorry if I'm extending.
Alright, get done.
Okay. So Prabhuji, here can you explain the difference between the word, so you said the word yogamaya, right?
Yes.
So when we say Maya means material energy, and then they're like in Prabhupada books it always comes Yogamaya and Mahamaya. So what exactly?
Mahamaya is the material energy.
Yeah.
Yoga Maya is the spiritual energy. So when Mother Yashoda is thinking that Krishna's my little baby, and if I don't feed him, he'll starve. I mean, that's not true. That's Maya. I mean, but that's a different kind of Maya. That's not the Maya of the conditioned soul who's in illusion, thinking I'm this body. That's the Maya of a pure devotee who Krishna is covering with this yoga Maya in order to facilitate that exchange of love. So that's yoga Maya.
So Prabhu, does Krishna cast this Yogamaya on himself as well? Because let's say when he is Lord Ram, does at that time is like I'm all absolute. So how does he feel that emotion, this thing? Does he cast that on himself or just on the devotees?
Well, no, he's always the master of material and spiritual energy, but he'll accept a role for the purpose of the purposes he appears in this material world. He says, I come Prityanaya Sadhanam Samastaya Shaduskritam, that in order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants and reestablish the principles of religion, I invent myself. So Krishna has various purposes in coming here. He comes to exchange loving exchanges with his pure devotees. He also comes to establish the Dharma. And you see that very, very, very much in the pastimes of Lord Ram, to vanquish the impious Ravana and reestablish the Dharma.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yesterday on 9th chapter we read about how Krishna is not, Prabhupada actually explained in the Prabhupada. Just before the chapter of the Krishna Supreme Personality of Godhead in 9th canto, that how Krishna is conceived as a material person, but he keeps a long Prabhupada that he has a material looking body, but he's still spiritual. So same as like you and me, but he is still spiritual. So it's a nice one. Yeah, yesterday we had that.
Yeah.
Next, yes. Yep.
The attainment of Krishna consciousness, is it more of walking through a door or just a gradual process?
Oh, it's a gradual process described as a cleansing of the heart. It's not, I mean, Krishna can make it as faster or as sudden or as gradual as he wants. And I mean, we can become Krishna conscious at any moment, but generally it's a gradual process of purification. That the chanting of Hare Krishna is it's like watering. Okay, it said that the spiritual master Krishna plants the seed of devotion within the heart by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, and the seed of devotion within the heart is watered by our chanting and by our regular spiritual practice, and it gradually this creeper grows and produces fruits of love of God. But you know, just like you put a seed in the ground, you're not going to instantly get a flower. It takes some time. So it's like that.
But there is a defining moment between a seedling and a flower.
There's lots of stages in between. The verse I quoted before describing the process of bhakti yoga, that at the beginning there's a little preliminary faith, the Dao Shraddha. That at least there's that faith that maybe there's something here. Let me check this out. So that's preliminary faith. It's not firm faith, but at least enough faith to see, you know, to pursue it further. And then sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha is the association of devotees, association of like-minded persons who are interested in progressing on the spiritual path. Bhajana kriya, the performance of devotional service. There's the chanting, the hearing, the 9 processes of devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, praying. So that's bhajana kriya, performance of devotional service. And then anartha nivritti, diminishing all unwanted habits. So Prabhupada he required from all his disciples, and all his disciples have followed the same process, that you should give up the pillars of sinful life: meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. So that's an arta nivritti, giving up unwanted habits. Then from there, you get nishtha, firm faith. So, actually, I should have added in bhajana kriya that actually also involves performance of devotional service would involve initiation by the spiritual master, and following the practice of devotional service under his direction. So then you get firm faith, you acquire taste, eventually up to the platform of pure love of God.
So sorry, I won't go on too long, but all these stages are just increased levels of Krishna consciousness. It's not just you do these stages and then eventually you reach a point of Krishna conscious.
It's a gradual process. It's a gradual process of purification. You know, we can get excited. Oh, you get go in the kirtan, you get excited, Jai, 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 Hari Bol, and then you go out and you're out with your friends, and they say, oh, let's go out to the bar or whatever, and oh no, at the beginning there might be some ups and downs, but the more we get a taste for chanting, the more we get a taste for service and hearing about Krishna, just this hearing process, hearing about Krishna and hearing the holy name and participating in the kirtan and associating with devotees, that all this other stuff you just don't want it anymore. It's just ugh. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to subject myself to the cause of further suffering?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Like,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So earlier, towards the beginning when you were describing your first dialectic in terms of the thesis being that materialists only accept that matter is the only reality.
Right.
There's no spirit. And then obviously the antithesis to that would be the Mayavad philosophy, where only Brahman is the truth, everything else is illusion.
Right.
And the synthesis being Krishna consciousness.
Right.
This is more on the terms of just not questioning, but understanding this philosophy. Is there room between the two extremities? So for example, let's say, where would an agnostic fall on that spectrum of thesis and antithesis?
Well, that might be a different thesis and antithesis. I don't know what between I don't know if there's a God or not, and between that and there definitely is a God.
And then I guess just sort of to follow up on the idea of the synthesis of both matter and reality. So this dialectic thought. Obviously, I know you mentioned. I'm glad actually you mentioned it at the beginning when Srila Prabhupada was studying everything in his own university studies, and also going on to be a pharmacist as well. So pretty well versed in the material. I think that also in itself as well, Srila Prabhupada is actually demonstrating the dialectic thinking, even outside of just studying it, because he went to materials school, got his degree,
His life experience.
so his experience studied in underneath his regular professors at university, but also under the guidance of his guru, also studied Shastra, went through the entire process of student life, householder life, and then eventually reaching to the renounced order. He's also a living example of dialectic thinking, because he did the thesis, he did the antithesis, but then he also is the synthesis, because he is the perfect example of a Krishna conscious person, doing the material life, renouncing that, and then going forward, but also still being in the material world.
Yeah, Prabhupada lived the full cycle of life in this world, with family, with business, but at the same time he was always Krishna conscious. I mean, they asked Prabhupada, when did you become Krishna conscious? He thought about it, about 5 years old.
Okay. Prabhuji, I have one more question. So Prabhu, there's Shitoshna Sukha Dukha, this part, right? So
Yes.
in the dualities of this thing, so my question was, Draupadi is a pure devotee, right?
Yes.
Why was at the Dut Sabha, right? Why, what is the extent to which one should not be in Buddhism, for me, am I understanding when one said pacifism,
Mhm.
right? The complete pacifistic idea is there that don't do anything, whatever happens like that. And then in Krishna consciousness, it's like you do, but to a not to certain extents, but until the dharma gets violated, you stop there, right? So in the Dut Sabha, Draupadi is a devotee, and the Bhishma Maharaj is there. He is a devotee, and I always had this question: why was he tolerating that?
this was all to enact Krishna's greater pastime of, Krishna came to cleanse the earth of the demonic influences, and Bhishma just happened to be kind of in the service of Dronacharya and dependent on him, so he kept quiet. But Bhishma is a pure devotee, so he's one of the 12 Mahajans. The incident itself with Draupadi, it showed Draupadi's full surrender to Krishna, that she just, Krishna helped me, and Krishna protected her by supplying unlimited sari. So sometimes the pure devotee, Bhishma was on the other side. He was fighting against Arjuna.
Yeah.
But this is one thing that, okay, I think I have an answer here. One thing is that Krishna was fulfilling the desire of Bhishma, who was in this chivalrous rasa. Bhishma was, the ultimate warrior. He was in this chivalrous rasa with Krishna, and on the battlefield, Krishna fulfilled Bhishma's desire to face him as in combat. I'm sure you know the story that Krishna had promised not to fight or take up weapons in the battle, but then through some trickery, he got the special arrows that Bhishma had that he was going to use to kill the Pandavas. So Bhishma understood what Krishna did. He said, okay, Krishna, I had promised that I was going to kill Arjuna tomorrow. Now Krishna is making me break my promise by taking these weapons. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight so hard that that either I kill Arjuna or Krishna's going to have to break his promise. So this is, this is chivalrous rasa. This is, warriors. And so Krishna is enjoying this kind of warrior rasa with Bhishma. So Bhishma was fighting so furiously that Arjuna was about to be killed, be defeated. So Krishna took up the chariot wheel and charged at Bhishma. And this is like the highest ecstasy for Bhishma, to see Krishna in his chivalrous rasa, see Krishna come in attacking him with this chariot wheel. So everything before that, the insulting of Draupadi, Krishna fulfills many purposes at once. But one of them is to fulfill Bhishma's desire to experience that chivalrous rasa, and that's how when Bhishma was passing away on the bed of arrows, that's how he remembered Krishna. He remembered Krishna as in that chivalrous mood. As Krishna is pierced with arrows from bleeding from Bhishma's arrows and charging at him with this chariot wheel. So Bhishma made Krishna break his promise to protect his devotee Arjuna. But at the same time, he didn't break his promise because he took up a chariot wheel. It wasn't really a weapon, but he entered the fighting anyway. So he broke his promise. He didn't break his promise. All right, it's about 6:30. I guess we can end it here. Okay, Hare Krishna. I'll go to Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai, Visvatomukha Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. All of us can slowly pray.